If the start of the new year makes you feel foggy, pressured, behind the eight ball, instead of energized, there's a biological reason behind this. And yet, every January, we act as if motivation, clarity, confidence, all those things should just poof, appear on demand. And we tell ourselves that this is the moment to get serious, to reset, to finally figure everything out. But that assumption alone creates pressure, which brings me to the first problem. We start the new year before we've actually fully recovered. January is treated like a clean slate. New goals, new habits, new expectations. But what most leaders arrive in the new year with is being already depleted from months of sustained pressure, of constant decision making, of emotional labor, and very little true recovery time in that time frame. So when the calendar resets, your nervous system doesn't know, and the body doesn't care what month it is. Think about how the year actually ended for you. Think about those end of year deadlines and all of those performance expectations. Then there's family obligations and the emotional complexity of managing those relationships over the holiday season. There's social commitments layered on top of the work, even before and throughout the holiday season. You might be struggling with disrupted sleep or more stimulation. And the holidays, while they're supposed to be restorative, often come with their own forms of stress. Then January arrives, and we expect ourselves to be completely clear, 100% strategic and focused, and decisive immediately upon January 1st. And when that doesn't happen, we quietly question ourselves and we say, well, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I figure this out? Why do I feel like I'm behind already and the year's just started? What is actually happening is biological. Prolonged stress accumulates in the body and in the brain with what researchers call allostatic load. This refers to the wear and tear of the brain and body caused by repeated and chronic stress without the adequate recovery. So, high allostatic load is associated with impaired emotional regulation, reduced attention, and lower cognitive flexibility. In other words, your system is still trying to stabilize what it experienced throughout the year. And if January feels heavy or you feel resistance towards it, that's not a failure. That is your physiology doing exactly what it's designed to do. Now, here's where most people unintentionally make things worse. We expect clarity and good decisions while the brain is under stress. We believe clarity comes from thinking harder, maybe more planning, more goal setting, more pressure to decide, more self-talk about discipline and focus. But decision quality depends on your physiological state, not just your effort. If you're like a lot of leaders out there, or a lot of people out there in January with a notebook and a blank screen, you're ready to plan out your entire year. And instead of being excited, you feel that drain, right? That lack of traction, that resistance. You know you care, you know you're capable, and you know you've done hard things before, but it's just not clear to you as to where you want to go. So you push harder, and that only increases your frustration. So here's the thing. Stress hormones affect your prefrontal cortex directly, and it's the part of the brain that is responsible for executive functioning, for planning, for prioritization, and impulse control. And neuroscience research shows that when stress is elevated, your prefrontal cortex efficiency drops. That means you have less cognitive flexibility, more black and white thinking, and reduced access to creativity and perspective. So again, this is not a mindset issue. This is physiology, it's biology. You cannot force clarity from a dysregulated system. Clarity follows regulation, not the other way around. And this leads directly to the third problem I see every single January. The new year creates a sense of urgency that feels like motivation, right? We're going to fix everything now. We're going to optimize immediately. We're going to become somebody new. Make this the year it all finally clicks and works out for us. But urgency might feel productive, but biologically what urgency does is it activates your stress response, and stress reduces follow through. This is why so many resolutions collapse by end of February, early March. Not because people lack discipline, and most certainly not because they don't want the things badly enough, because often they do. It's because urgency was mistaken for readiness. And people try to build new habits and have big goals and try to make these major life changes on top of a nervous system that is already overloaded. And eventually the system just pushes back. Research shows that activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, improves emotional regulation, impulse control, and decision making. One of the most reliable and accessible ways to do this is to slowly control your breathing. Slow, controlled breathing increases your heart rate variability, which is a physiological marker associated with better stress resilience. It also helps with emotional regulation and executive function. So when the system is calmer change becomes more sustainable. Take me, for example. I have been fasting, intermittent fasting, for 50 days now. I could never have done this in a dysregulated state. In a regulated state, I'm able to manage the cravings and the little responses that my body has. And when my body is in the fasting portion of my day and my cortisol spikes a little, I can handle it better because I am nervous system regulated in comparison to where I was 3 and 4 years ago. So remember, pressure creates burnout, whereas regulation not only creates capacity, but creates the conditions for change. So if this new year feels stressful and overwhelming instead of inspiring, use that information. That's your nervous system communicating with you. It's not failing you, it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. So a better question that you might want to ask yourself is, rather than asking, what should I do this year? You should be asking yourself, what can my system realistically support right now? And from that place, clarity not only becomes simpler, not only can goals become more grounded, but follow through improves naturally without forcing it. If this is resonating and you know your system needs support before you try to push into this next year, I want to invite you to a simple next step. I offer a private 90-minute Break the Stress Cycle reset for leaders who feel stuck in overdrive and want real relief, not just strategies, but relief. I'm opening up a limited number of reset spots, and the first 5 people who book can use the code NEWYEAR20 and you'll get 20% off the price. You can learn more by looking at the description down below and click on the link. It'll bring you right to the page. If this video resonated with you, I also recommend that you check out this other video called The Early Signs of Burnout High Performers Ignore Until It's Too Late. It builds directly on what we talked about today and will help you recognize the signs and symptoms before stress turns into burnout.